One event, that's all Phil Mickelson has played in 2026. One tournament, a tied 48th finish in South Africa, and then complete silence. No Masters, no PGA Championship, no US Open. For the first time in decades, he couldn't even get into the field. His own team has been quietly bringing in a substitute player to fill his spot at LIV events, week after week, with no explanation and no timeline. And the strangest part? Nobody's talking about it. When a player of Phil Mickelson's status essentially vanishes mid-season, the golf world usually notices. There are headlines, there are press conferences, there's at least some kind of official statement. But this time, just silence. A family health matter, his team said. Nothing more. That answer satisfied nobody, because something about this situation doesn't add up. The absences kept extending, the substitute kept showing up, and behind the scenes, a much bigger story was quietly building. What's actually going on with Phil Mickelson in 2026 is something most golf fans haven't fully pieced together yet. And when you do, when all three pieces of this fall into place, the picture looks nothing like what his career was supposed to look like at this stage. Most people think this is just about his health. They have no idea what's actually been happening. To understand where Phil is right now, you have to go back to 2022, because that decision, the one he made when he became the loudest, most visible face of LIV Golf's launch, wasn't just a career move, it was a statement. He called it the right thing to do. He said it on record, on their own podcast, with full conviction, no hesitation. And at the time, that meant something. Phil Mickelson wasn't just another player jumping ship for a bigger paycheck. He was a six-time major champion, a fan favorite for 2 decades, the kind of name that gives a brand instant credibility. LIV needed him more than he needed LIV, and deep down, everyone knew it. But here's what that decision actually cost him. The PGA Tour suspended him. Sponsors walked. His public image, built over 20-plus years of being genuinely one of the most likable figures in the sport, started cracking in ways nobody expected. And unlike most LIV players who quietly made the move and kept their heads down, Phil had been vocal. He had been the face, which meant when things got complicated, he was also the most exposed. Fast forward to 2026, and that exposure is starting to look like a very serious problem. Because while most golf fans have been focused on the bigger LIV storylines, Brooks Koepka returning to the PGA Tour, Patrick Reed following, Phil's situation has been developing quietly in the background, separate from all of that, personal, and significantly more damaging to his reputation than anything happening inside the ropes. This spring, Mickelson was removed from the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California. Not resigned, not quietly let go, removed, following a formal investigation triggered by a report from a female staff member accusing him of inappropriate physical contact. The club didn't stay quiet about it either. Their official statement confirmed a staff member reported member misconduct, that an independent investigation was conducted, and that, their words, decisive action was taken. The individual, meaning Phil, is no longer a member. His legal team pushed back on the framing. His attorney argued Phil resigned his own membership rather than being removed. Golf Channel later updated their reporting to reflect that dispute. But here's the thing. Whether he resigned or was removed, the outcome is identical. The allegation is public. The investigation happened, and the club's statement left nothing ambiguous about why he's gone. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office confirmed they investigated and found no evidence of assault at this stage, while leaving the door open for further investigation if new information emerged. So you have a formal allegation, a club investigation, an official statement, a legal dispute over the details, and a player who is already barely present in professional golf in 2026. And somehow, that's not even the worst part of where Phil Mickelson stands right now. Because while that story was developing off the course, something much bigger was collapsing underneath him. The league he gave up everything to join, the one he staked his reputation on, the one he called the right thing to do, is facing its own crisis. And Phil is caught right in the middle of it. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, the financial engine behind LIV Golf, has announced it will stop funding the league at the end of the 2026 season. Not reduce funding, stop. That means every contract, every team, every player currently inside LIV is looking at an uncertain future with no confirmed answer about what comes next. Players have already started moving. Brooks Koepka went back to the PGA Tour. Patrick Reed followed. The exits have been quiet, but they have been steady. And the players who remain are watching very carefully, because nobody wants to be the last one standing when the lights go out. For most LIV players, there is at least a conversation to be had about returning. the PGA Tour introduced a returning member program that creates a legitimate pathway back for certain players, specifically those who won majors within the last 3 years. Names like Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, Cameron Smith, players the tour actually wants back because they move the needle right now. Phil Mickelson's name is not on that list, and the reason why reveals exactly how isolated his position has become. The program's criteria cuts off based on a 3-year window of major championship relevance. Phil's last major came before that window. Dustin Johnson is in the same position, which means the formal pathway that exists for most LIV players simply does not exist for Phil. There is no application. There is no negotiation. The door isn't locked. It isn't there. And if you think that's just a technicality that could be worked around quietly, former ESPN host Trey Wingo made the tour's actual position very clear. His words were not diplomatic. He said he could promise that Phil Mickelson would never be seen in any official capacity with the PGA Tour again. He described the bridge as burned, detonated, destroyed, and nuked, not damaged, gone entirely. Wingo went further and explained exactly how the tour thinks about the LIV situation. They care about getting specific players back, Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau specifically, because those are names that drive current audiences. Phil Mickelson in that conversation does not come up, not because they forgot him, because the decision has already been made. So here is where Phil Mickelson actually stands in 2026. One event played all season, a serious off-course allegation now part of the public record. No path back to the PGA Tour, and the league he chose over everything, over his reputation, over his relationships, over 2 decades of goodwill, may cease to exist within months. One columnist put it in a way that is difficult to argue with. Over the last 5 years, Phil Mickelson has burned more goodwill than almost any athlete in recent memory, and the timing of each decision, each controversy, each public moment has made recovery harder every single time. The question was never whether Phil could survive one problem. It was always whether he could survive all of them hitting at once. Tiger Woods, for all the difficulties he has faced, remains welcome at every major event in the world. Tournament directors call him. Sponsors want him. The golf world still holds space for him. Phil's situation is the direct opposite. He retains lifetime exemptions into the Masters and the PGA Championship specifically, so those 2 doors technically remain open. But outside of those 2 events, if LIV dissolves, there is nowhere left to go. No tour, no home, no fallback. That is not speculation. That is the current, documented reality of where one of the greatest players this sport has ever produced now finds himself. A man who won 6 majors, who gave this game some of its most iconic moments, who was genuinely beloved by golf fans for 20 years, sitting in a position where the sport he dominated may simply have no place left for him. Whether that feels like justice or tragedy probably depends on how you felt about Phil Mickelson these last 4 years. Some fans believe the decisions he made were unforgivable and the consequences are fair. Others think the punishment has gone further than the mistakes deserve. Both sides have been loud, and neither is entirely wrong. Personally, I think watching a career end like this, not with a final round, not with a retirement announcement, but with a quiet fade and a list of closed doors, is one of the saddest outcomes possible for any athlete at this level. Whatever you think of the choices, the ending doesn't feel like closure. It feels like abandonment. Do you think Phil Mickelson still deserves a way back into professional golf, or is this where his story ends? Tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to know where golf fans stand on this one. What happens next with LIV Golf's future will determine whether any of this changes. If new investment arrives and the league survives, Phil at least has a technical home. If it doesn't, the clock runs out faster than anyone expected. Either way, the window is closing, and right now, nothing suggests it opens again. If this is the kind of story you come to golf for, subscribe. We cover exactly this every time something this big is moving.